Are we all excited?
1, 2, 3.
Bill, did you bring any additionals?
Additionals? What do you mean?
Well, you said you might bring copies, did you, or did you?
Yeah.
What more do you want?
Because I couldn't print off my computer, so if you have,
I got copies of what I sent, the
that's
email I
perfect,
sent.
that's perfect. My
Does it
computer.
say the same thing as this?
not doing-
No, that's mine.
Yeah, this isn't,
You reworked yours.
that's the name version.
Oh, you reworked, oh, you,
You asked for suggestions
Yeah,
for
yeah.
improvements, and that's all that is.
Oh,
And-
okay.
And Bill, I want to thank you very much. You did a super job.
Bill, are you going to bring up the thing on minutes?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Are we on?
I'll vote.
Okay, this is our recommendation meeting, but we have some business to clear up going backwards.
Right, we have a number of minutes that I posted this year, which are technically just draft minutes until we approve them. So I have the dates here, and I'm gonna propose that we approve the minutes of our aforementioned meetings that we had.
I'm gonna move.
I'm gonna move, yeah, I'm gonna move, not out of this chair, but I am gonna move that we approve our draft minutes from 24 January, 17 January, 3 January, 13 December, 6 December, 29 November, 8 November, 25 October, and 13 September, which were all meetings that we had this year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Good to go.
Well, hang on. Dan, would you like us to do that to follow the past ones too?
I mean, I guess we could go back and look at them, but that's actually all I was looking for, was to you to adopt them or
Okay.
amend them or whatever.
All right.
Okay,
And just, if there is some, Maureen can let me know too.
great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, do you guys want to start with the warrant articles for the town?
Yes.
Okay, working on Article 2 regarding the town budget. It's not recommended, 1 to 6.
If we can do this more rapidly, if we just agree or disagree and make changes in the proposal, I don't have to read it.
Well, you know, this is on camera, we don't want anybody being lost and feeling they're not transparent. I don't need any phone calls at home that says, well, you don't discuss what you're doing, you're just saying yay, nay, and plowing through it.
Keep a copy of it.
Oh, well, you
I'll share.
need
I'll
to
share.
copy.
I'll share it, so I can see what they're.
So- Everybody has a copy of the original proposal that Bill did, correct? We also have Neil's suggestions. Does anybody have any other suggestions regarding any of this that we need to put together, tear apart? Do we want to adopt Neil's, or do we want to add to Bill's? Go ahead.
Would it be appropriate for Neil to just say, hey, here, these are the changes that are recommended?
I think we start with Bill's, and to the extent that I have any changes to propose, we look at them and we can adopt them or not.
He put changes in, we'll see no reason.
Oh, okay.
That's his.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Okay, Neil, do you want to weigh in on this one? This is, because you've got...
Article 2, I have no changes. I thought it was excellent.
We do need the number though, right?
The only thing I didn't have in there, I don't know if Naomi would have access to that, it's just the amount that's expected to be carried over and returned to the taxpayers, or an approximate amount. Is it over 200,000, 225,000?
What was left for 2017?
Yeah.
It was 209 and change, 209,000. 102 was unexpended, and 107 was unanticipated revenue that we got more than we thought we were going to get. So it's 209.
So over 200, over 200.
Yeah, it's 209 and change.
On top of what we already have in there,
Yes.
which I think is 300,000?
At least that, yes.
300 or 400,
I think that 3 is safe side.
Yeah,
Sure.
because we wanted more than just a, oh my God, Hail Mary cushion, which makes perfect sense.
Lori?
Yeah.
I do have one suggestion. Wherever you get numbers, we shouldn't use M or K because that's confusing to most people. If you want to do it as millions, you could do 6.08 and write out the word million, or you could just put in the numbers.
I agree with that, that makes perfect
And the
sense.
same thing on the 200,000, it shouldn't be 200K, it should be
Put in the
200,
full 200,000, yeah, is that okay for you, Bill?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
And that applies throughout the document.
No, that makes perfect sense. John, do you have any adjustments to this, or are you happy with this?
I have no suggestions on Article 2.
All in favor of accepting Article 2 as Bill has written it, raise your hands for yes.
With the amendment that Neil made of spelling out million and
Right.
thousand.
Right, with those adjustments. Article 2 passes. Moving on to ever exciting Article 3, non-union pay raises.
Gloria, you're just approving your wording?
Yes,
All right, you might just want to say that, because somebody might look at this and say that you're now approving
Oh,
budget.
okay.
Okay.
We're approving the blurb.
we're
It's-
approving the blurb to an article we are not recommending.
Can I say narrative instead of blurb?
Yes, narrative is a good idea. Okay, non-union pay raises, it is recommended 7-0, as the town has changed this to a 2% raise.
I'd like to propose the bolded language, keeping everything that Bill has. And I would like to add, the committee would note that the town administrator received an 18% raise and the police chief received a blank percent, I don't know what it is, which are perceived by other town employees in the committee as extremely unjust by comparison.
I think he
I don't agree with that.
I think he got an 8% raise, but we can check into it. I happen to like it because most residents are not aware of contracts for people. They just aren't.
I've spoken to 3 town employees. 2 were extremely upset, and my sense is that there's a real morale problem that's been created by the disparity.
Well, certainly with the difference between 2 part-time heads of departments, there's a heck of a disparity on their salaries. But I think part of our job as the Finance Committee is they need to understand what we look at and what we have concerns about. If we don't explain things, then the town residents don't know enough to start looking and asking questions. They trust us to put out important information. I think this is important for the residents to know. Anybody, John doesn't feel so, Neil and I do. What do the rest of you think?
Well, should we also note that if we're gonna do this, that without a vote of the town? And that's really the thing that gets me, I don't really, the issue,
Without approval by the town.
in other words,
Yes.
you're putting this into an article that we're talking about, that we're voting on a raise or raises, money, making money available for raises. And from my point of view, the thing that distinguishes it from this other part is that the police chief and the administrator were not voted upon.
Right, so without previous approval by the town.
So after the word raise, comma, insert without town approval, comma.
Correct.
And while I understand the concerns, my comment on this would be the fact that both of the town administrator and the police chief are contracted positions, whereas the rest are not. While I understand the numbers and that some employees are not happy with that, and I can understand their concerns, is it fair to say that it's a raise and not just a contract increase?
It is fair to say that because when you look at what they get over the next couple of years versus everybody else, the police chief also gets to get part of that 2% raise that we're giving to the rest of the town employees. The town administrator chose not to do that for the first 2 years of her contract, but the police chief is right in there, and he's already got a very healthy raise. Residents need to know that when they're voting on these raises and they're under the impression that this is only going to the regular people that don't have contracts or unions, they need to know that some of this is, the other thing they need to know is, there is, again, we go through the same business. There was a warrant article in 2006, and the Board of Selectmen are very much aware of it. They've quoted it, we went through it 3 years ago, they've talked about it on camera, so this is no secret, that they were supposed to have 2 public hearings.
And they've admitted that they've made that mistake.
It's not a mistake because they did it 3 years ago and were perfectly aware that they didn't do it. We brought it up when the police chief's contract came up this summer, they were well aware of it, it was brought up again. It's not that they forgot. This is a pattern with this board, and the residents need to understand that even though we have a town warrant article that says, hey, we expect you to do this, they need to know that this is not being done. Granted, it's an advisory warrant article that the Board of Selectmen do not technically have to follow, but the residents don't know anything about the warrant articles that are advisory. They have no clue. They think when they pass a warrant article that it's gospel. And if you don't put that in here, you're giving the residents false understanding of what's actually going down. And a lot of what we're looking at, when we're looking at the money of this stuff and we're seeing how do they get these raises, how does this work, how does it fit in with everybody else, it all dovetails into here. And if we're the committee that they trust to give them information, because 99% of the people do not ask questions, they walk around thinking everybody's hunky-dory, that this must be the way it is. I mean, it's no different than any other level of government, but they actually look at us and expect us to tell them these things. And I've been asking people all week. I know that other people who have attended the Board of Selectmen's meetings are starting to ask questions of other people. They're starting to reach out and say, hey, did you know this? Are you aware of this? And they're like, well, there was a warrant article, doesn't it work this way? Or when did a contract start going to this person? When did we go there? By nature, I guess people don't always know that, but the Finance Committee is in charge of making decision on money articles, and if we don't explain how we get to those decisions, how do people learn? Go ahead, Val, your turn.
I don't like the language in that article.
Which,
Being added to that article. I think it's a little bit apples. I think if you're going to make that point and put it out there, where John said it's a contract issue, it's not like a pay raise, and it's wrapped into the Article 2 more so in my mind than Article 3, because if you're looking at making a case for the 6.6% increase, and you're going to say, well, part of it is due to these contract raises too. If they're going to raise it, you know, the issue we have is the escalation in the operating budget, which is where these raises are, not.
But if Article 3 passes or fails, it does not affect those two positions.
Right.
Nothing affects those.
well, it does
So-
affect
so-
those, it affects them to the extent that if Article 3 does not pass, then the chief doesn't get an additional 2% raise on top of the raise that he got with his contract. And
But that's not clear from what's written here.
Okay.
If that's what you care about, that's not what's written here.
Then we, you know, if we're gonna do this, we have to explain how that works. It's,
I mean, I tend to agree with Bill, but I was kind of, the place I would put it was in Article 2, because that's really one of the links.
okay,
The reason why I put it in Article 3 is because Article 3 deals with pay raises.
Right.
And the issue, we suggested to the selectmen that 3% was too much. 2% was the right number, they went with that. But it's such a contrast with raises they gave to other people that this seemed to be the place for it. Just so folks know, many other towns have town administrators and police chiefs without contracts. It's
yes,
not required that they have a contract.
that's
But that isn't the issue. I mean, I don't care they have a contract. I care about the fact that the townspeople are not voting on those contracts.
Well, if we add the language that you suggested,
Yeah, that's fine.
so it would read, the committee would note that the town administrator received an 18% raise and the police chief received an 8% or whatever it is
well, we'll
raise.
check that out before
Right.
we send it.
Without town approval, which are perceived by other town employees in the committee as extremely unjust by comparison.
Okay, are we how many are okay with the new language to go forward and let this narrative go forward? How many against?
I'm against it.
How many abstain?
No, no, oh, yeah, oh, I missed Steve.
He was asleep.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, so it's the narrative, the new narrative will stand, but we'll get that figure for you tomorrow. Neil, did you have something you wanted to
No.
trip in?
If I can just add one thing, not in relation to that article, but where it's going to be easier, I think, if we, like with the changes we make tonight, most of the time, if we go with what you got, it's going to be easier for you to just make the change on the document you have in your computer, rather than me working back from this. You know what I mean? Yes.
I'll do it and send it around.
Yeah.
You don't get to have your wife do this.
Well, either way, you can have somebody in the Kirk household.
The dog will do it. Okay, Article 4, Government Building Maintenance. Were there any changes to this, or am I not picking that up, other than we need to spell everything out?
I thought this was good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Everybody good with the narrative? Okay. Cruising right along to Article 5, no pun intended.
I have no problem with the change, Neil. The capital improvement plan is the right language. And the last change there is fine.
I believe the chief stated that it would not be used for community purposes for any officer. So that may,
Okay.
should we go ahead and just, that would eliminate any chance of this.
Just remember that the chief does not consider himself to be an officer.
That's correct.
So you can say by the chief or any officer.
He considers himself, he thinks that the approvals that the town has given for officers don't, it's the officers plus the chief.
Right, so I think what John's saying, so it's leave it the way it is, used by the chief or any officer instead of or the lieutenant.
Yeah,
Sure.
that way it's not just singling out lieutenant, this way the sergeants won't be doing it.
Yep, that's a
Yep.
good thought.
Yeah, so I'll delete lieutenant and substitute any officers.
Yeah, delete those out too.
Now, one thing before we go forward on anything, well, we'll finish these and then I'll bring up a question about. Moving on to Article 6, Police Officer.
Levels, you want to outline in your lead. Yeah. LEVELS. LEVELS at the top of the next.
Yeah, that was my typo.
I know. I like it.
I would like to add some language to it and we can massage it as we go forward. But I think I would like to add that there are no statistics show at this point that there's no need for this, and I can actually say that because I have the numbers and I actually have got them divvied down to the different shifts. We're at 0.06% of 1% for those wee hours, and at the last selectmen's meeting, when hammered on, the police chief did acknowledge that state and sheriff's department will come. I think it's important that people know that because he's actually been quoted by the messenger and the union leader that we won't have people coming in an emergency. And that's wrong.
It'll just be a potential delay.
But wouldn't it be easy, are we really the second state of this town and the state of the state?
We are.
Is that really a fact?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
determine this.
Wouldn't that be easier?
A state agency, the same agency that's just determined it for the last 25 years. They've used the same criteria, which the chief was perfectly fine with up until this year. And
No, I'm saying is if that's really true, wouldn't that be an easier way to say it?
that's fine, however we want to massage this. I just want to make sure that people understand that he has presented absolutely zero credentials on this. this,
Can I answer his question?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were done.
I got stuck.
I talked to the chief this morning about this. One of them failed through the background. The other one is going to be brought to the selectmen for his final, that person's final interview, his or her, I don't know, within the next couple of weeks. So, that one position will be filled.
We're still down one.
Correct.
The one that,
Even if that one gets in, we're still down one.
now you're only down one instead of the two, as referenced in here, provided that actually goes through.
So, Bill, do you want to, or Neil, or who's ever doing this, add that little piece of language that he suggested I say?
What
there?
was your language, Keith? I missed
Well, I was just suggesting, you guys always refer to us as the second safest town in the safest state. Wouldn't that be an easy way to make the point that we probably don't need additional?
So it should be noted that we are the second safest town in the safest state in the union.
Yes.
No, I'm not stating that fact. I've heard you guys state
Yeah,
that.
no, that's,
Who has
it's,
said that?
Yeah.
what's the state agency, Neil?
The state police,
No, who's the one that came up with that statistic?
the Department of Safety.
Okay, is there something you can reference?
Is that a question or a fact?
That's fact.
We don't know.
I don't know where that statistic came from. I read it in the paper.
I will get you the
Fake
answer
news.
tomorrow morning. It's actually valid and I.
Yeah, we shouldn't have it in there unless we know
The actual
where,
source of
what
it.
the
Yeah,
source
no,
of it is.
I'll have your source tomorrow
I think
morning.
that's an easier thing to say
Well,
than all.
the police chief said that to us.
Yes,
We are
But
the second
still,
safest town in the safest state.
people need to know where they came from, and they also need to know no facts were provided for this, so I think that's fine. But I will get you the information, you'll have it by noon tomorrow. What is tomorrow?
Thursday.
Okay. Okay, scuttling right along. Article 7. As far as I can see, we didn't make any changes, correct, Neil? Or did you and I?
Article 7, I have no changes.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in, or are we good with this? We're good with the narrative? Okay, moving on to the plow truck. To replace. Okay, should it read to replace the town's plow truck fleet as opposed to replace town's plow truck fleet? You need a modifier there. I think the word "the" has to go in front of towns.
Yes.
Okay,
I think we're involved with the 10,000 engine hours. A diesel engine can be completely rebuilt, even if the cylinders are worn, the pistons are worn, that can all come out. And there's actually a sleeve that they put down in that bore, and that can come out and be replaced. And as long as the block is not cracked, it can crack.
yeah, but we're not here to tell the highway department how to fix their machines.
Well, no, I think what Greg is saying is that,
Just because it's got 10,000 hours,
That
it's
this
not
is-
ready for the scrap pile.
exactly, that the fact that there are 10,000 hours doesn't mean, is not a justification for replacing the vehicle.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Well,
But that's what Benji was giving.
The transmission, the rear ends, everything, and, the suspension, everything is replaceable. If the body's not rotten off the frame, that truck can be rebuilt like new.
I
For
don't,
way less money than buying a new one.
well, I don't disagree with any of that, except that what they've said is they refer to the trade that haven't had a trade-in value when they go to buy new. That's the case that they make.
I know, but I don't hold any faith in that either, okay? I've owned a truck and come there, I've driven trucks for 40 years. There's 3 or 4 things you don't buy used. A high-performance sports car like a Corvette, a used motorcycle, and a used plow truck, and a used police cruiser.
So you're saying you don't, so
You don't buy used,
so nobody
that's why
wants
there's
to buy
no
it?
trading value, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because they get the daylight speed out of them on a regular basis.
Right.
So you think they're replacing them too often now?
I just think He wants a whole new fleet. I mean, he's
Well, yeah,
got a new fleet, you know, it's just, it's monkey see, monkey do kind of.
Well, I get that, but right now we're talking about one.
Right.
You think this one should be replaced?
I don't think any of them, unless they've got other documentation other than engine hours.
Well, obviously, he
Well,
wants
age.
to go to 10-wheelers instead of 6-wheelers because it gives them more capacity for.
I understand that, and I agree with that. However, the way the new garage is built, the way they said they're gonna put two in each bay, back to back, if they go to 10-wheelers, I don't think you're gonna get two in.
The garage was set up for 10-wheelers. Benji specifically changed the dimensions on that garage so he could load it for 10-wheelers, different from what we did when we designed the garage.
I wasn't aware of that, but. Anyway, that 10,000 engine hours is irrelevant, basically.
Well, okay, so just take it out, I said more like the useful
Well,
life.
no, leave it in there. I have a problem with if he's asking for a new truck just because it's got 10,000 engine hours. That's
Right,
not-
but if you have a problem with it, we should have wrestled with that when he was here.
No, I know. Should we just say we have a number of trucks that are approaching the end of their useful life, rather than being specific about engine hours, so that we don't get caught up in the engine hour thing? Is that really what your point is?
Well, no, I want documentation as to why that truck needs to be replaced other than engine hours.
Kevin, you supported it.
You supported this, it's a little late.
I
to
know
start
that, I know
having some
that. We need to keep the roads open too, but I don't know that we need to replace all the trucks that we have
Right,
already
but-
ones.
So what about this one?
This,
2002 six-wheeler.
I mean, if you want to argue next year about
Well,
that
and I'm just-
documentation, that's fine. But it's a little late now to ask people to jump through hoops when
Well,
we're.
what happens if
jumping.
what happens if we eliminate that sentence? So
That's
it just
the
reads,
engine hours?
we have a number of trucks. If you eliminate that, it will read, the committee sees a continuing need to replace the town's plow truck fleet. This article will replace a 2002 six-wheeler with a 10-wheeler, increase capacity, etc.
Yep.
So that we're focusing only on the particular vehicle that we're replacing and not the fleet.
Right.
I would just, the second half of that middle sentence that we want to pull out, I have no problem taking out the engine hours because that's really two different opinions. You've got experience in that area, so you're saying no, 10,000 hours shouldn't be a relevant factor, whereas the public works director used that as a benchmark or a measure too of truck replacement. And that's a different
But
opinion.
as far as
Okay.
trucks being more than
But-
10 years old, I think that's important. for
Well,
people to
it
know.
kind of lets people know that this particular type of article isn't going to go away because 10 of the 13 dump trucks that they have are 10 or more years old when you look at the
I think
CRT.
that's fair.
So you want to leave that?
That's just a statement of fact.
No.
It doesn't talk about the particular condition of each and every one of them, but it says, hey, we got a lot of old trucks.
Right, no, that makes sense.
So it will read the first sentence as is, and the second sentence will be abbreviated to read 10 to 13 dump trucks are 10 or more years old.
Yeah.
And then everything else is okay. Got it.
The only other change I would make, and it's just more of a grammatical issue, you spelled out the word 10 and then a couple words later, you actually wrote the number 10, just one or the other.
No, when you start a sentence, you never start it with a number. You always
Correct.
write out the number in letters.
Yes.
But it's not a start of a sentence.
It is now.
It
It
is.
is
Oh, is
now.
it?
10, yeah. We start out with 10.
And before it was sort of because of that percentage going.
John,
Yes, sir.
if we kept the sentence as it originally was, you are correct.
There you go.
And I'll be the first to say I wasn't an English major, so you're going to have a lot of those.
I was, English and business.
Good.
Okay, so we're good with the narrative on here, with the new adjustments, correct?
Yes.
Article 9, the backhoe.
The only change I thought was needed was a comma after the word last year on the third line.
Yes. Only not so many spaces.
Yeah, I'll change that. The reason I did that was to remind me that the comma was being changed.
Got it.
You know how to bold a comma?
Any other changes to this?
The fact that it says it's suitable only for crushing operations, I'm not opposed to that, but I'm wondering if maybe we ought to have something that says it's not roadworthy.
Yeah, that's correct.
And also, Neil, it might make more sense to turn that sentence around. The town rented the new backhoe using road maintenance funds to service road and culvert needs last year.
Yeah, I like that.
but then starting with 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you make the adjustments on that now?
So the sentence starts, the town rented a new backhoe.
Using road maintenance funds to service road and culvert needs last year. It's the same sentence, just in a
Reverse.
declarative way.
Got it.
And then something about the old one not being roadworthy, or I don't know what the exact language should be, but
Where does that go?
The very first sentence.
The backhoe owned by the town is 18 years old and not roadworthy, suitable only for crushing operations at the transfer station.
Where's the old one? I was down there today, and there was nowhere to be seen.
Well, actually, I think it's still sitting over there. I saw it, I was on there today too. I think it was back in where the plow trucks used to be in that old shed.
No, not anymore, it was last week, not this week.
Well, there was one there this morning, and it wasn't the new one, I don't think.
Well, it was gone this afternoon.
Okay. I was pretty.
Maybe it went to the
The
postie tub.
question I also, or other thing I also observed there was the new one, it's got, come with what they call road pads on the outriggers. It's like hard rubber, so you don't dig up. You know, if you dig it in the dirt, you want, it's shaped like a T and it comes down and it digs in, so when you're pulling it, there's resistance there when you're pulling with a backward digging. Well, the street pads are just that, they're real thick rubber, like very, very hard rubber. And that's so you won't dig up the street if you dig in the street.
Right.
Right, well, 3 out of the 4 of them were missing, they've torn them off and done something with them. That's the way they maintain and take care of the equipment. I have a problem with that.
Well, that doesn't
No,
come
I'm
under
just-
finance, that's a whole different meeting with the board of selectmen or
That's all.
the head of the highway department. We don't get into managing departments yet.
No, we don't.
It needs to be done.
So, are we good with the adjusted verbiage to this narrative?
Yes.
Road reconstruction.
I just added the source of the money so that people would understand that it's coming from the state. And
You don't think people will find that confusing and think that since it's coming from the state, they don't need to vote on this?
no, even with this level of funding and a one-time supplement from the state's infrastructure fund last year,
Okay.
we continue to not keep up with town needs.
You know, I remember way back when I first came into town and you were the moderator, it was like they called it a housekeeping article. Remember that?
Yes,
And it was, I forget how it was worded, it was something like a highway block grant type thing.
that's what this is, the highway.
I know what it is, I know that, Neil, but it's not saying that to the public. That might give them a little more indication as to where this money's coming from and why.
It really doesn't even have to be in there.
We can put in after the word state.
I don't think it needs to be in there to get this passed, and I don't see any reason for putting it in there. I think it's gonna cloud the issue, confuse people, and
Doesn't the board actually say something?
What would happen if on the second sentence, after the first word state, we put in block grant?
no, I think you need to take the block grant out. I think that by putting this in, you're going to cause people to think that money's already there from the state.
It's actually in the article.
Yeah.
It's in the article.
What was it?
Anticipated to receive from the state of New Hampshire highway block.
Well, yeah,
What was that?
Yeah, but the thing I said in the last part was I was trying to make the point that even with
Yeah,
the supplement we got, the extra supplement we got last year.
Right, but the point is that the two go together. You're right.
But is
You're thinking-
does the actual article address this?
Yes, the article actually says, anticipated to be received from the state of New Hampshire highway block grant pursuant to RSA 235.
But that's the one we get every year.
Right, but that's, so we're getting that, and we keep this in here to show we're getting even more.
No, I think if you put that in there, you're gonna lose the article.
Which one? But why and where?
Where are we? Where's it?
Yeah, leaving out, I can see where putting that last sentence in. I wasn't trying to be devious.
No, I realize that, you're not that way.
So take out the last sentence?
Yeah.
If
Gone.
we just take it out, it won't confuse anybody, it won't bring up the fact that, yeah, we know we got a one-time supplement last year, but some people might see that and say,
Yeah,
well, we don't need this.
yeah, and I don't think the
And-
intent
and-
of the
and
governor
The
was to
intent was,
have,
hey, we're still not keeping it.
So why did you put it in?
he's,
Because I was being devious. I was the one who always brought that up at all meetings. I was trying to sneak it in there, is that what you're trying to say? Oh, I wasn't trying to.
All right, so
We got that on camera.
We pull the last sentence out,
Pull
are
the
we
last
good on
sentence
this?
out. Yeah, just pull it right out of there so nobody gets confused.
Goodbye, Irene.
I do like the comment at the very bottom, we continue not to keep up with town needs.
I like that
It'd
part.
be nicer than the way we can still afford it.
We could leave that sentence.
Just
part
leave
in
that
sentence.
No, you don't need it, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but,
But it doesn't hurt to say.
well,
we
you know,
continue.
no, I think we should put it in there because the reason is, in one of these years, and it could be next year, the CIP committee's gonna come in with a number that's gonna break the 500,000 mark.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's.
it's gonna go up,
good
so we
thinking.
wanna say, we wanna get on record now, hey, we're still not keeping up.
Yep, okay,
So-
so add that in.
So how do you want it done?
So even with this level of funding, we continue to not keep up with the town's needs?
Yes,
Well, yeah, we're not keeping up.
Yeah, even with this level of funding, we
Yeah.
continue to not keep up with town needs, yes.
Okay.
good suggestions.
You're not gonna take up the remaining balance to be raised by taxation?
No,
That's-
you're in the wrong place. We're not doing this, we're doing this.
Oh,
We can't change the
We
warrant.
were just doing our recommendation.
nice if we could, right?
Yes, but we can't, so we don't have to try that. Article 11, part-time DPW truck operator. Neil, did you do anything while you
Nope.
were looking at this?
This is fine.
Anybody have any proposed changes, or can we leave the language as is? Done.
I think it would help out with the $6,300 in the middle of a snowstorm.
Okay, Article
To do
12.
what? $6,300 to do what?
For that part-time, if you look at the warrant article.
Yeah, but we're just going on our
I know he asked me
recommendations.
for what.
Well,
I said I was in favor of it because it will help out the whole town and overall.
okay, I got confused, I thought you, all right. I
We
didn't realize you were
already
talking
know
about-
that you're on board with it because we've got the counts, now we're just working on the verbiage. Okay, Article 12, Bridge Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund. I don't see any changes here, or am I missing them?
The only change I made was typographical. There are 3 bridges in need of major repair. They are River Road Bridge and Lowell and Francis Town Road culverts.
Okay,
And again, I'll change the 400K to 400,000.
Should the word "the" be inserted before River Road? Or is that the actual title of the bridge? Just curious.
it's just River Road Bridge as far as I know. We good with the narrative on here?
I mean,
Well, actually, bridge shouldn't be capitalized. The culverts will be
Right.
capitalized.
Yeah, culverts isn't Bridgewood, and it's just a bridge. Okay, Bolton Park Pavilions, Article 13.
Typo, I had a typo in there, I got filed instead of field. The L and the E in line 3, Neil missaid.
We could file the field under something. Okay, so we good with the language here?
Oh, and not now pavilions, new pavilions. Oh, and now pavilions, no, that's correct.
No, not
Now we got pavilions, yeah.
Do we want the last sentence in there though? I'm not sure that a long-range plan would change my tune.
Well, I thought that's kind of what we said at earlier meetings.
Actually, after
Well,
now, you should have a comma, because when you actually read the sentence, it's these have included parking, comma, field expansion and leveling, comma, and now, comma, pavilions, because you pause between that.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we kind of said,
Let me
you know,
put it a different way.
we talked about getting, hey, what's the big plan for Bolton Park, so that when we see individual,
Okay, so let me turn it around. If you had a big plan there, you would have put in favor of this?
No.
well, I don't know. It would certainly make it easier to make an evaluation of it, and I don't think we should take an attitude of anything comes in from Bolton Park, both Bolton Park or Bolton Field, we just automatically
Agreed.
say no. Yeah.
I agree, we're not saying that though. But I also don't think we take an attitude just because it's a long-range plan, we're gonna support it.
No.
I don't know if that has any
the
bearing on it.
projects could then be evaluated. I'm not saying we're gonna approve them, I'm just saying we're gonna evaluate them, consistent with it, to make sure they're consistent with the long range.
How is it that the long-range plan is gonna help? It's not gonna help me evaluate them. You think it's gonna help you evaluate them?
But yeah, I'm gonna see
Okay.
if you have a long range plan for the park and they come in with a project that has nothing, that's not in the long range plan, then we'd say automatically no.
Even if it was on the plan, I'd say automatically no.
Because
Why?
I mean,
What's the
we've
purpose
got
of a long range
schools.
plan if you're not gonna approve it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is no point. They don't want, they are not going about this the right way in terms of improvements. First of all, Bolton Field doesn't need any improvements, number one.
Well.
Chase Park may need them, but they don't take the money away and put it aside for
That's-
that.
That's not consistent with Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec said it is parking is limited there, and the fields are not a regulation size according to Parks and Rec, those
But when
are.
you look at the percentage of people who work down at Bolton Field, it's not the majority of the town. I don't spend
I
any
don't
time.
know that, I rely on Parks and Rec to tell me that, and that's what they're telling me.
Well, that's all fine, but I'm still trying to understand, if you rely on Parks and Rec, fair enough.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you rely on their saying, we need what they want this year, a pavilion? In other words, never mind, they have a long-range plan, and like you just said, it includes parking,
They
field
have
expansion.
a,
You just want to see it written down? All I'm saying is, I'm not so sure that that we, as a committee, want to say that if they do this, imply that we are then going to support it.
Right, it's up to them to figure out putting a game plan together. It's not us to tell them in a warrant article, get your crap together and come up with a plan.
That's fine.
I'm just bringing up my old Coast Guard experience where I was a planning officer at Support Center Kodiak. I had this great big thing called a Kodiak Grand Master Plan.
Yeah,
And when everybody got, and people got transferred in every 2 years, I was there for 2 years, but my job was to take that big baby. And when everybody came up with their big bright idea to get their stripes and make their mark on Support Center Kodiak, I was the one who sat there and said, it's not consistent with the
Yeah.
big
but
plan.
the people who
for
are
that-
supposed
for
to
that
put
park.
that, I agree with you, the plans are great, but the people who are supposed to drive the bus on plans are the Board of Selectmen and the head of that committee. We
Right,
don't have that.
so when they do, so don't come in with other individual projects until you tell us what's the big plan for
At
both
least
parks.
indicate that you've given it a plan.
Okay. I would say no.
Neil, do you have a,
I thought the way this was written is fine. I don't see
okay,
anything
I'm good with
to-
how it's written. Larry?
That's fine.
I'm not in favor of that. I'd like to see them do some kind of fundraising to show us that they really want it.
Lots of
Boy Scouts
stuff.
do it, the Girl Scouts do it,
Yeah, but that's not something, I don't know that we
it's
can
the athletic.
drive that here in this.
No, but I'm just telling you why I'm against it.
Right,
I
but
would like to see it
right,
happen.
we know you're against it. This is not to hear why you're against it. We've been there and done that.
Okay.
We're just putting down why we're doing what we're doing. John, do you have any?
Yeah, is it Bolton Park or Bolton Field?
Yeah, I called it.
It is
Well-
Bolton Field?
Which one are you
That's
talking
what
about?
everybody
The
calls it.
one,
Bolton Park
Article,
is down here, Bolton Field's
Naomi,
over
is it
there.
Bolton
Okay,
Field or
Article
Bolton
13.
Park?
that's what I'm talking about. Is it Bolton Park or Bolton
It's the
Field?
Francis Arthur Bolton Senior Memorial Park.
Bolton Senior Memorial Park.
That's the one down in Eastman Hill.
No, yeah, well, down on 114.
That's the name of it, Bolton Senior.
No, it's Francis Arthur Bolton Senior Memorial Park.
Do we have a name by that name then?
Francis,
So why not just say
Arthur.
Bolton Park?
That's what it says.
I've always known it as Bolton Field, and that's what I think probably,
Bolton Field is part of Bolton Park.
put it in parentheses, park behind pavilions, you know, just throw a parentheses behind it.
I just think it's the right name, at least we give it the right proper name. That's my thing.
Can you put the right name in and then put field in
Well, okay,
parentheses?
wait,
Everybody's got a
wait a
clue.
minute. Here's the thing. Article 13 states it correctly. So why do we need to repeat it?
Where's Article 13?
It refers to Francis Arthur Bolton Senior Memorial Park.
Okay, well, fine.
All we're saying is, yeah, we would, no, we don't.
We
do
don't
that.
need to get wrapped around the axle over the language.
Correct.
Other than that, are we happy with this?
Yes. No, but yes.
Article 14, the ever-exciting bell tower.
You win.
Any changes? We're good with the bell tower? Let it toll. On to Article 15. This seems to be an interesting article. What do you guys want to do with this?
With Neil not being 100% confident in the library director's comment?
No, I'm 100% confident that I got it right,
Okay,
but somebody needs to check.
Well,
Naomi
I
or
will
Lori or
be,
somebody.
Naomi will be there tomorrow, I'll be there tomorrow, so I'm
Okay.
sure at least one or two of us will.
As long as he confirms it with another person, I think it's fine being in there, but if nobody else can confirm it, I think it should be taken out, just to be safe.
Okay, we'll check into it and I'll get back to you by noon tomorrow, William.
No, you get back to me, because I got to
Oh,
make a change.
sorry. Are you available at noon or do I have to wait until tomorrow night because you're
Tomorrow
at
night.
the State House?
Tomorrow night.
Send them an email.
He doesn't do emails at the
I
State
do
House.
email.
He does so.
He does emails at midnight.
Yeah,
He doesn't answer during the day. God, this is Neil we're talking about. Okay, Article 16, Cemetery Construction Capital Reserve Fund.
We stubbed and completed 15, but there's more language that Neil had suggested.
Oh, I thought we carried this, but.
I had no changes on that one.
Wait, but 15's not quite right, Neil. The last sentence, the town has historically not supported planning and estimating for projects prior to the presentation and approval of the project concept. Approval of the most recent example being the DPW garage? Or just does approval want to go away?
What he's saying is that, maybe it's not phrased right, but the town does not usually.
I understand what you're trying to
money
say.
do
So
it.
does the word approval need to be scratched?
The bill had, the town has historically not supported planning and estimating for the projects prior to such approval.
Well, but we would,
Comma.
prior to the presentation and approval of the project concept, comma, and then you left in approval. I think that wants to go away, right?
That's incorrect. It should be comma, the most
There you go.
recent example being the DPW garage.
You're right.
Okay. Thank you, John.
John.
Well, he told me
No
to
love
go
here.
finish it. Otherwise, I'd go right on to 16. Okay.
The first sentence, in the support, when Neil changed it, he should add an ED on support, supported by the library director.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
So I didn't flunk English, I did get a C, but.
Well, if we're gonna be that picky, library director should be capitalized.
Yes,
No, only if that's his title.
It is.
that is his title.
He's not the librarian,
No,
No,
He's the
he's a
director.
library director.
he's library director.
so if I write him a letter, dear Mr. Library Director, capital L, capital D.
Yeah.
Or to Mr. Director, but yes.
Wow, okay.
Okay, off to Article 16.
How about the library, John? Do I have to capitalize that too?
No,
Because it's the Weare Public Library.
Well, if you do it that way. Actually, it's not even proposed by the library.
just say the
Propose that
building
to our
is in this
trustees.
article. Are we good with 16? Trying to get rid of 15, I had it with 15. Are we good with the cemetery?
Yes.
Any changes?
Surprised Lori didn't comment that these are deadly articles.
I was waiting for you. People are just dying to get in there. Okay, scuttling on to Article 17, yet another dead article.
Makes sense.
Okay, we're good with this?
For those watching on YouTube, this is not a dead article, it's just a bad joke.
The Finance Committee at the moment is tired. Okay. Fireworks, I don't think you've changed the wording on this.
Looks good.
Forest 19, I don't see that this has changed. Moving on to Article 20. I think the last sentence gives more clarity to it. Does anybody else have an opinion?
I just copied what Bill had in Article 19, because the same thing applies to Article 20.
Makes sense.
Okay. Article 25 looks good.
And just as an aside, I did not write up a comment for Article 23, because based on the information we got from the last meeting, that it wouldn't be included. That was the large.
We can just say something in the meeting we want to.
We can certainly say something.
Yeah, but it wasn't
think they're allowed to censor what we say.
Yeah, but they have the last control, okay.
Well, we can all send out our own and say, "Free,"
There we go.
but,
I don't care.
We'll have a public comment period.
right, and we will certainly weigh in there. Okay, do we want to tackle schools? The ever exciting schools.
Bill, did you send us something on school?
I did not, because we hadn't voted on it yet, and I was gonna send Keith an email, and I never got around to it, I was gonna have him do the school recommendation.
Is that what you're gonna do?
That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna slip you that one. Well, it's only a
I
couple.
guess it's good it didn't work out.
It's
So
all-
at the moment, John doesn't have anything to weigh in on schools because he doesn't know what all the figures are.
I looked at it briefly online.
Okay,
I've got copies of
the
it.
school weighs in, we have a deliberative session Tuesday, correct? Wednesday?
Friday.
Wednesday, Friday.
Wednesday and Friday, so we need to get the schools done.
It's not next Wednesday, Friday, is it?
Yes.
Should be.
Just,
Town is Saturday,
Yeah.
so we need to get this cleared out.
Yeah, that's,
We don't have.
I got a couple
4 days
extra copies of
for
those.
these. I would love one, please.
okay, I only got three, I don't want three of them, because I told everybody, we're gonna get them earlier.
Well,
Good share. That's the Weare schools.
okay, so let's do the Weare schools first. How do we feel about the budget?
Second.
As I stated before, I'm opposed,
Okay.
but it relates to the zero-based budgeting, not to the numbers per se.
I'm opposed. Greg? John?
Abstain.
Okay. Bill?
I just wanted to hear more specific, because you were at the school meetings, and you felt that, even though it's not a large, it's a very marginal increase, but you said,
I felt like, and this kind of goes against Neil's directive, but my sense is, my notion of default budgeting is it should be zero-based budgeting, i.e., it should be what it would cost to do what we did this year again next year. And that's not what they did. That's not what they do a lot of the times. So that's one problem. So there are basically numbers in the proposed budget that are lower than numbers in the default budget. So that's the kind of thing I'm referring to. The other issue that I have is, so then when they gave the presentation, they are raising it by whatever they're raising it, and when they made the argument for why they needed to do these things, they basically were talking about new art programs, new Chromebook replacements, which I get, why you want to replace them. But then they went on to talk about the fact that their math and English or language arts scores, pretty much across the board, are down, are lower than the state averages. And yet there was no correlation between the proposals to spend more money in certain areas and improving math and language arts instruction, test scores. So those are the two basic reasons I was frustrated by the whole thing.
Did they give any financial reason why the scores were down?
No, they just basically presented that they were, it was like a totally different, a disjoint thing. It
So
was
they
a-
just said it just for the hell of it?
Yes,
Okay.
it wasn't related to when they're talking about the numbers, with the budget numbers.
Yep.
They then went on to talk about in fact, it might have even been a different person doing the presentation, unrelated to the budget, just, here's where we are.
Yeah, I can't remember, what was the percentage increase proposed versus default?
I really nothing calculated.
Approximate is fine.
I think the default and the proposed were almost the same.
Yeah, I think, you know,
Like,
compared to last year,
$1,000
they're different.
Yeah, last year.
I think some of them compared to last year. They're both about the same this year, yes.
I just can't
they're
see.
both lower than last year's.
Right, but we still have increases to the SAU, and we are busy putting money away for digital cameras for the art groups, but the test scores stink, so I see no point in increasing anything until they find a way to address the test scores and what they're gonna do for that. I mean, I've heard they've got the best teachers and, you know, they're happier with their salaries, but, you know, I'm not seeing it in their work.
Are we talking Stark or Weare?
We're talking where?
And in Weare, didn't they tell us that the teacher's contract failed? The teacher's-
Right, but they also said they only lost 5 teachers this year, and that's because they're older. We didn't have much attrition this year because the last contract they got brought their salaries up, and so they were happier staying. So that isn't a serious issue because we're not having a mass exodus every year like we have in the past years. They stated that at the meeting. But there's been nothing to address any of the education of how we're going to fix our horrendous test scores.
So let me see your logic. The schools are, the schools have poor test scores, and we're going to deal with that by saying you can't have your proposed budget.
Yeah, because the increases in the proposed budget do not have anything addressing programs to improve test scores. What's in the proposed budget is an increase in salaries for the SAU. It is contractual obligations, and it's an increase, and a lot of it are those digital cameras, which they all have phones that are digital cameras. None of this improves their test scores. If you want me to increase the budget, you better show me that you're actually doing something to get them where they're supposed to be.
So look, as a practical matter, the small difference means it doesn't matter one way or the other, but
Then they can stay at their default budget, at their regular budget. I will not give them more money for being subpar, because the money is not being appropriately used in my book.
So, as far as the actual numbers go, the proposed and the current budget are roughly the same, $3,000 apart. The proposed budget is $3,000 lower than this year's budget. The default budget is $150,000 lower than that.
You don't get a raise for not performing, and our children are not performing, so somewhere somebody's not doing something.
but if you cut them by 150,000, won't they have to do some things that will make it even harder?
No, in
This
fact,
has nothing to do with that.
I should have added, John, in the beginning to answer your question. Laura brought it up. Their teacher costs went way down because of these expensive teachers getting replaced with lower cost teachers. And that more than, if they subtracted that, the default budget would be far lower.
They kept in the salaries at the higher level than the
They-
teachers?
No, but they didn't fully subtract them out. Again, it goes back to that whole thing of the way they play, in my mind, in my view, I should say, the way they play games with the default budget. Similar to what the town does. They just do it different ways.
So we have 3 no on the current budget. John, where are you?
Abstain.
John's an abstention.
I'm in favor of giving them the proposed budget.
I know you're in
What do you say?
election mode. Bill?
No, I just wanted to see where,
Yeah, you want
I'm
to
not ready to vote yet.
Okay.
I wanted to see where you said they, I don't have the more detail right now, I'm just looking at the numbers here.
So you got this current year, what
Yeah.
was default?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw those numbers. But you said that when they did the
Teachers?
default budget, they carried over the old number, and I'm not seeing that here. I'm just, I'm like, I'm salary, was
We're running,
17-18 budget, 18-19 default, 18-19 proposed, I'm looking here, and I'm seeing last year salaries, 6.8 million, proposed 6.6 million, default 6.6 million, not 6.8 million. Right here.
you know, I know, where's it over here? Is that, are you on the same document I'm on?
Yeah, you got it.
Object.
The one that has a summary.
I don't know what you're looking at. I got those two. What's up? So I'm just what you're saying.
Yeah, because I thought you said when they did the default, they referred it to here, but they didn't there.
Okay, so here's this year's budget salaries. They had about $500,000 reduction in teacher salaries. And,
Oh,
okay, so there is some reduction there,
yeah.
but there's not the full amount of the teachers that went away.
And why would they ask for this amount if it's not what they really need? What did you say the teacher?
They
for how much they want. I'm not sure what you're saying. This is what they want, this could be lower.
It could be lower, yes.
That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying it should be, I'm just saying, be honest, in my opinion, you made a default budget that's zero-based budgeting, so you give voters a choice. I'm not saying we're going to support the proposed budget. I'm just so frustrated with the way they go about it. Same reason I have a problem with town. The fact that they put the raises into the default, that shouldn't be in the, if that was in the proposal, I probably would support it. I mean, only in the proposed. I was thinking you give voters a choice between one and the other, and all of these committees, not just the Weare schools, it's the towns, I don't know, the Starks do the same thing, they play differently because their enrollment's going down, but they all seem to try to make the default and the proposed look very similar, so that voters aren't really being given a choice.
Okay.
So what are you?
Window.
Okay, so the noes have it. We are
What's the
not,
vote?
it's 4-2.
2 to 4.
Abstention.
Abstain.
No.
1, no. 4, yes.
No.
Why don't you show of hands?
Yeah.
I've got the noes and the yes.
It's 1 for 1.
Thank you.
Backwards.
1 for, 4 against, 1
One
abstention.
abstention.
Yep. Also in place.
Article 2.
Am I correct, Keith,
Yes, sir.
that their proposed budget is just about the same as last year's? Is that what you told us?
Yes, that's correct.
And you want to cut it?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
we just went through that.
I mean,
I just wanted to make sure, but I understood that.
We want the default.
the reason being, they had this huge reduction in teacher salaries. Even larger than what is represented by the default budget. That's why the default budget is lower. And I agree with you that one of the other reasons both of these budgets are so, for this board, relatively tight, is that they were expecting teacher contract.
No, I agree.
But I don't know that we need to take that into account, the fact that they
No.
could negotiate a teacher contract.
Article 2, shall the Weare School District set salaries for the school board and the compensation for any officers of the district?
We don't have a choice on it, do
Do we do anything?
We don't
There's
recommend.
no
Never
numbers.
mind. Article 3,
That's the one we just did.
all right.
Article 4 is the one where they want to add.
Article 4, they want $75,000 to go into the building maintenance fund. This is we've been doing some serious looking into this. If it's actually for the boilers, they haven't even attempted to look into it, so it's not necessary, it's not gonna be done immediately for next year. But they would go the same way as Stark has gone with the.
Energy efficiency.
Correct. But what's interesting, we have done some research, and when you start looking, Bill, do you have the emails for that?
Yeah, I got it.
It's amazing how much money they have in their accounts. There is a lot of money in,
I put it actually, even though it didn't get addressed at our last meeting, it was information that we got as a follow-on, so I added it into the minutes of our last meeting when we talked about it. It's the, for Weare, let's see, John Stark. It's the next page, I think. Weare School Board, okay. Weare schools, they have the following, well, on the account they want to add to, there's currently $99,000.
right,
And they also have a future expansion account, which totals $42,000, a middle school water and wastewater account, I don't know what that, but it's $14,000, a grounds and playing fields account, which currently has $12,000 in it, and a special ed account, which has $101,000. So there are various accounts, but the one they're talking about adding here already has $99,000 in it. And since they don't know which direction they really want to go, and we kind of like to see them go the direction maybe Stark is going with their
And they
their
haven't-
plant management, then
Yes.
adding more money into that account would be counterproductive.
they haven't even looked into hard costs for anything, they just want to throw in. Marge made the statement when she was here, they just want to have extra money in there because it makes Kathleen feel better. That's not a comment that I give you money for. I'd like lots of money in my house account too, but it doesn't work that way. You know, you give me a reason, you prove what you need and the cost of whether it's valid, come talk to me, but just to say I'd like to stockpile it like a squirrel, that's not working. I'm a big no.
I'm just reading it
Triple
Bill?
I want to go, just, you know.
Neil?
No,
John? We're all no's.
Guys, no? So it's a 0-6, okay.
now. Comment on that, Mark? Stocks over 30 years old, that's what, 11 years old?
now. Well, then it's two schools.
Two schools.
Yeah, we've
Center-
also got
Centerwood
Centerwood
is-
side,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, Centerwood is
It's
still.
close.
Centerwoods is 3 years newer than Stark.
Yeah, yeah, right.
No, again.
Okay, can we go to John Stark?
Lori, is Bill going to write these up, the recommendations?
Yes, I'm gonna put, yeah.
And
I'll-
well, we just.
No.
Unless you want to write them up.
No, I'm gonna write up, I gotta write up my votes in the minutes,
Right.
but if you wanna just, you can use whatever language I put in my email and my minutes and just draft.
Bill's
draft
going to
a
write
page,
it up with Keith massaging it.
but
And will that be
Keith
circulated?
can produce a one sheet.
And then
It'll be circulated.
Keith will send it to everybody, or send it to Bill to send it to everybody, but we'll need to see this by Saturday, so we have,
Well, that you need to see by, the school ones you need to have for Wednesday and Friday.
right. But this we need to get to Naomi, I think. Naomi, you need this when?
What's that?
Our recommendation
For the town.
for the town,
Well, you're gonna need them for Saturday morning.
Week from Saturday.
a week from Saturday, but how soon do you need them prior to that?
Well, I'm just gonna make copies.
Okay. All right, so Neil, or
The warrant, I mean?
Keith, do you have the articles for this to be able to read off for
Yeah.
John Stark? Because I don't.
So there's only two that are relevant. Or, no, I'm sorry,
This confused that
Okay, so let's start with the budget.
That's good.
Blah, 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 blah.
13,304,543. Default, 13,166,491, so about $150,000 lower. And I can't speak to it because I was not in the meetings, but Neil can tell you what the
Neil, do you
good or
want
bad it
to?
is.
What were the numbers, Steve?
The proposed 13,304,543, and the default 13,166,491.
My sense from attending the meetings was that the proposed budget is reasonable. They are doing a number of things, there's a separate article on this, but it's related. A number of things with energy efficiency, which effectively are going to bring the school up to date.
Right, but
Overriding
that doesn't
ways.
have to do with this amount here.
Fair enough. I guess I'm having a brain fizz.
I didn't see, I've been attending the meetings with Neil, and I'll be very honest, I didn't hear anything that told me that I need to vote for the proposed budget. Nothing jumped out at me and said, hey, this is great, let's do it.
What was last year's budget? Keith?
13,166.
Was last year's, not the default.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have last year's. I didn't, you should have.
Yeah, I should have that. I didn't bring that folder.
Okay, let me see, maybe I have copies of that.
Didn't they say they had over $1 million in surplus accounts back?
Bill, do you have anything?
Here, I have their handouts, you know.
They do have several accounts in surplus for John Stark, they're not hurting.
Here you go, 17-18 was 13,354. 13,354, so 50 million higher than this year's proposed.
In other words, their proposed budget this year is less than their actual budget last year.
Or 50,000, yes, correct.
And to me, that says somebody is being responsible Their enrollment is down slightly. They're running an efficient ship. They're responsible to the voters to the extent that as their enrollment is going down, they're trying to reduce their costs, and that's difficult. Easier in a high school than in a middle school, but still difficult. To give them the default budget penalizes them for doing a good job, so I think they should get the operating budget. It's lower than last year.
The only comment I'm going to make now is, we just talked about Weare schools.
Yeah,
The proposed budget is lower than last year's operating budget. They must be doing a good job.
so let's keep them
So
where they're
if
at.
we vote yes on the start budget, are we being consistent with how we treated the Weare budget?
You're right.
You're correct if that's your definition of the standard for making the decision.
Well,
But remember, I voted in favor of the budget, so I'm being consistent.
Well, here's some information you should have. John Stark Future Building Fund is 62,000.
Okay, wait, just to comment on what you just said, though.
yeah,
The Weare schools, the default is essentially the same as the
okay,
last year's
all right.
budget.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the proposed is essentially the same as last year's budget, it's not now.
Okay, yeah,
It's 15,299 versus 15,302 was this year's.
all right.
So it's not quite apples to
Yeah.
apples.
Yeah.
And I actually am more supportive of the high school budget, knowing nothing about it other than what Neil just said, other than what I experienced with the whole process they're going through with their boiler system. I must say, I was a little skeptical of that, but having heard Zach last week and seeing what's going on up in Plymouth and going through the documentation that he provided me, it seemed like they really put together a good plan there, which leads me to kind of believe what Neil was saying, that he thinks they're doing a good job with their budget. I don't get that same sense personally from the Weare Middle School. That was the point I was trying to make. And it's just a sense. I'm not trying to give you back it up with numbers, but it's really a sense of going to these meetings for the last few years, just seeing how they handle the whole process. And this year they were anything but transparent. I mean, the high school has been really good about inviting us to do these things, and Lori, it's true around school, and I went in there back in October and met with them as well to talk about some stuff. So I think there is a difference between the high school board and the.
Well, so you're aware of their special funds. John Stark's Future Building Fund is $62,948.58. Their roof fund is $130,443.35. Their water fund is $30,323.07, and their special education fund is $170,942.93. So they.
None of that relates to the budget.
No, but this is stuff that you don't know, that you should always know that they have money there. But the other thing
Well, they can't
is,
spend that money. Not on their,
no, but you can't find this stuff easily in their reports.
well, that's true.
And since we discussed what Weare has, it's always nice to let people know that there is money floating around with these people. The other thing is, yeah, they're doing a good job, but enrollment has dropped, and I really don't understand why, when we expect the town to come in, we're not happy with their proposed budget. We don't want to see an increase in our taxes. We think they need to tighten it up and clean it up other places. The schools certainly are the biggest driver of our taxes, and they certainly can tighten their belts and go with stuff. I have no problem going on the next warrant article and approving that. I'm good with that, but I do not believe that just because things are going well that.
And they cut $150,000?
That's nice, but their other budget, the default budget, is lower, and I'd like to see the taxpayers get a break. And it's time that we weigh in on the poor taxpayers that are footing the bill for this, because they're not getting a break anywhere.
Well, one of the things that we've said since the beginning is that once we've done all of our work, we would total up and see what kind of tax impact it had. Based on our current schedule, we're not going to be able to do that prior to the deliberative sessions next week. Maybe we need to schedule a meeting for Monday night.
Well, let's get this done, and then we'll wrestle with meetings. But I'm a no. I want the default budget. I don't see that we need to say that increases are acceptable every year.
It's a decrease.
I want the default budget.
That's fine, but just don't use the word increase when it's a decrease.
She wants a bigger decrease.
Right. That's fine.
Much more sizable decrease.
Totally.
How much is it a year per student? Is it like 11 grand,
15,000.
15,000?
Well, I think, in looking at the numbers myself,
And you consider charter schools charge way less, and homeschools don't pay that for their kids, and the homeschool kids are doing great.
From 900 to, what was it, 860 or?
they're at 868, according to October of 17. Now, that may change, you know, give or take. But that's been a relative, I want to say 868, I'm wrong there. I'm sorry, 680, 668, 668, yeah.
Don't add more.
The high water mark was around
Yes.
900.
900, yeah, about
That
900.
was
That
quite a
was
few years ago.
10 years ago. Yeah, so,
The sheet for it.
but they have come down, they're
Yes.
relatively kind of level.
Right,
It's a very
whereas
slow
the grade
process.
schools are starting to ramp up, they're saying.
But I'm a yes on this one, because I do see a difference when I looked at the numbers, went back and looked at the numbers, because it isn't like a $2,000 difference between last year's budget and this year's proposed budget. It's more like $200-some thousand less from last year's operating budget to this year's proposed budget. Another 100,000 or so added if you go to
Subtract.
But to go to Keith's point, again,
No, he's pointed out to this one. I'm for this one.
you can't always find all the money when people leave, that it's all been taken out, and
Oh, that's true.
again,
Yeah, let's vote.
the clarity is zero, so I'm a no.
I'm no.
I'm yes.
yes.
Where's
Yes.
one of these for the school?
Where's what?
One of these.
Oh, no, you need an entire binder for the school.
Well, that's the thing, how,
No, if you go to the meetings, you do get them, but they look like, I don't have a high school, I can show you a middle school.
okay.
Neil, do you have your high school?
No, I grabbed the wrong folder. I don't have my high school or my,
It looks like this.
my Weare school. I have two other folders.
I just want to have
Although,
for everybody. Like,
I believe if you go on their website, you can pull it up.
$1 minute from each school.
I'm just going to say this again. Anybody who wants to look, go online to the
Yes.
SAU 24. You go to school board info, you go to John Stark or Weare.
And the budgets are
You
there.
can look at the warrant article.
Okay.
You can look at,
Just to be clear, it wasn't there a week or 2 weeks ago.
the Weare one is, the Weare one is there today. That's why I printed this out. Okay?
They're not transparent about this stuff. You cannot get it. Maybe you can get it now,
That's my point.
but I couldn't get it a month ago when they were
Right,
starting.
but Bill's not
telling
gonna print
everybody
it out and give it to
to
everybody.
go on and
I'm
look.
The school district gave us, each school did, we had 2 notebooks last year they gave us. One
Well,
for
I
school
agree.
and one for
I'm
high
not-
school. We got nothing from them the other night when they did their proposal.
But we can,
You can
each
get it online.
individual can get it, is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
but you
Yes.
can go online. I mean, it's this flooding of notebooks around, and Neil and I going and collecting notebooks for everybody.
Here's the concern I have.
The school district.
They give they, as evident, I'm sorry, you can have that back. They make that available with a relatively short amount of time, when the selectmen
Right.
give these to us in plenty of time.
Every week,
And we
yes.
take the hell out of these things.
Yes,
Exactly.
We get very little time to go over 2 additional, much larger budgets. So I think it's crap, and the only reason I'm going to my vote this way is because I have not had enough information, I have to abstain. I'm not gonna vote either way other than abstention, only because there's not enough clarity and I,
So how did you vote?
I voted yes.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I only got the summaries for John Stark, because the others are, like I said, more.
and if the schools pay attention to any of this, getting information like this in a much timelier manner would probably be more beneficial for everybody.
Hey, guys,
I'll just off my soapbox now.
I don't see that the informational shortage or surplus really should weigh in. I mean, we have a responsibility to do our work. I don't understand how we can vote against a budget that is coming down. I hear Lori's point. She's interested in keeping the lowest tax rate possible, and I understand that argument. But beyond that, I mean, if you're the school board and the finance committee says, gee, you did a great job, you knocked 150,000 or whatever it is off the budget, but it's not enough.
I look at it as the business, and the business of the school so far has been to amass money and become a cash cow. And a lot of the drivers, which are contracts for the SAU and teachers, are the biggest driver of this, and that's not beneficial to the kids. The kids don't get immediate benefits out of that.
Lori, no matter whether we have the default of the operating budget, isn't it the case?
It's still there, I realize that, but when you look at the default and you look at the proposed, there's nothing that the kids are going to be sacrificing. All they're going to be doing is moving bodies around with the teachers. It's not going to change them. They're not going to pull Spanish. They're not going to take away food. They're not going to change their math classes. Those are there because the teachers are there.
I want to provide our children a good education, and when the board comes along and says we can do it for less money than last year, I'm willing to support them. Especially, and I know it's not relevant directly to this article, but this is the board that came up with a plan to avoid a huge amount of expenditures on boilers and other stuff that we would have to replace. This tells me that this board is operating thoughtfully and carefully, and I don't want to slap them in the face when they do that.
I'm not. I'm giving them their boiler. I agree they've done a heck of a job selling it, explaining it, being very, very transparent. They're doing a better job on their budget, but I think they could do better. That is one very expensive budget. The schools are the two biggest drivers of our taxes. And all we keep saying is, well, they're doing a good job. They haven't charged us $200,000 more this year, so it's okay.
They cut it by 150,
Right, but when you look at what they
Over
cost,
200.
over 200.
it's still what they've cost us over the years and where we are, it's not enough. I mean, saying that an increase every year is acceptable when
It's a
people,
decrease. It's a decrease.
it is a decrease this year, but it's not enough. They can do better, especially because they did just fine last year, and they'll be fine this year. It's no different than the homeowner who's going to be told, hey, we just want you to give up more. You're not getting any more in your paycheck, but cough it up anyway. You have to be a little more respectful of the people footing the bills. And I'm all for the taxpayer. So we're at, how does that?
3, 2, 1.
Yes,
So it's a yes, 3, 2, 1.
That's what I counted.
a week yes.
A no?
No.
A no?
No.
A yes, and an abstention. 3, 2, 1.
What's our next article? Is that the ever-impressive heating system of energy?
The school contract.
Okay.
Which contract?
The school teachers
Teacher,
contract.
sorry.
That's STAR.
Sorry, the Star teacher contract.
And that's what, 138?
13.
What is it this year?
The first year was,
First year, the increase is 114,000 roughly.
okay.
What's the increase next year?
76,000 and then 78.
On top of the 130?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the cumulative increase is 500, the cumulative increase after 3 years would be 575.7 thousand compared to current salary benefit costs. When you add 113.7 times 3, 76.2 times 2, and 78.2 times 1.
Going back to your statement of why I was voting no before, they're getting a teacher's contract, they can scale back.
Well, fair enough, except that they're also, from what I understood listening to Zach, the contract includes some
They made
reasonable
some good changes on the contract.
health side of things.
Yes, they did.
And there's a provision in there with respect to buyouts if you don't take health insurance, that the school board thinks, based on what they believe the teachers will do, is going to save serious change for the district over the next 3, 4, 5 years.
In fact, looking at the teacher's insurance contract this year that they've made into, will going forward next year make me be looking at the percentages that the towns workers are paying for insurance.
You mean they're going down, I think they're going to 80/20?
80/20 on the teacher's got.
Yes, and I think the town isn't that low yet.
I don't know what the town percentage is now. Is it 15 across the board?
10.
10?
So that's something that the town can definitely, in future years, scale back or increase, however you want, whichever word you want to use. But we're asking the teachers to tighten their belts. We're looking at the private sector. These are all drivers in everybody's budgets, and this is one of the biggest drivers in everybody's budget. Insurance is expensive.
The only other thing I noted on there, I put out the minutes for last meeting when I was looking at it. Although the cumulative effect is 571.7K, it's when I looked at the salaries and benefits decreases this year in the proposed and budget as compared to the 17-18 budget, it's about a $540,000 reduction.
Yep, they had several teachers that were older
Right,
that were
so
gone,
I'm
so
saying
that's
is
a
the
big
teacher's
change.
salary benefit line is coming down by $540,000, even though this contract would increase it to $571 over the course of 3 years. So what I'm saying it's kind of a,
Do we know what the percentage increase per employee is? Has that been calculated at all?
I think their steps are 1.5%.
I think it was 1% COLA and 1% step increase. I think it was 1%.
I don't know what the per actual teachers that they have, but I looked at their step schedule and just did a calculation for the bottom step and the middle step. And they were about roughly 2.25%.
So pretty on par with what we're recommending for the town then.
Mhm.
Per year.
Yes.
So teacher's contract,
Yes.
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 Greg?
No.
I'm a yes. Next,
5-1.
are you writing blurbs for this, Bill?
Yeah, I'm writing minutes.
He's waiting
I'm
for
writing
the word.
minutes
Okay.
for our meeting of what the vote was and the general discussion. I'm not writing a blurb for the schools.
It's not a blurb, it's a narrative.
Is that what
Yeah,
Keith
that's
The narrative.
Yes, Neil?
Yes, I will try to do that, Neil.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will send them around, especially to you.
What's the next, but not during the day?
I will send whatever I will send them.
What's the next
The
one?
next thing is the lease for the boiler
I'm a yes.
system, yes.
Yes.
They did a great job. They listened to all the static in the past years. They spent a lot of time with us, and I learned a lot and saw a lot of things. I think they've really done their homework. I think they did a great job. Greg? No? Neil?
On which?
The boiler system.
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes, I would like to see something though in our narrative, that the $119,000 is projected to be offset by the reduction
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed reduction in whatever it is.
in. Yeah.
No, that's an agreement.
Is it?
Yes.
I'll make sure that we put that in that word.
It's in the warrant article.
Okay.
The vendor has guaranteed that the anticipated annual energy savings from the installation of this equipment will be equal to or exceed the amount of the annual lease payments.
And by the way, none of these numbers are real.
Yeah.
They can't be until we actually go to do
Plug
the
count
thing.
installation and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, is there anything else we need to wrestle with?
You got buildings and grounds expendable trust, the next one.
For $2,000.
There's another article.
How much?
50,000.
They want to add 50,000 to an account that when we asked the SAU currently has $269,000 in it.
Do they have a plan for what they want to use this money for?
No.
No.
They're not.
I'm a huge no.
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 I think everybody, yeah.
You did what?
I think everybody's a no.
So, you know,
I'm a no. on this one. But I found out how much, they also have, just for the record, John Stark has additional trust funds available for specific purposes as follows. The John Stark Future Building, $63,000, Roof Fund, $130, Water Fund, $30, and Special Ed, $171. Well, Special Ed, we understand, I think they always have money in reserve in case they get some inbound student who requires,
I think it's better not that.
Yeah, the reason I don't know is because they have no idea what they want to support.
No.
They have no advertised idea what they want to spend on.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to solve something away from there.
Okay, so we've got all our recommendations out of the way.
Yes.
Something I wanted to raise the question, last year at deliberative session, as you know, the budget got changed midstream. And I am wondering if we have changes like that or somebody amends a money warrant article. At that point, does the Finance Committee want to go in a little huddle and talk about that to see where we stand on
Would that have to
any
be
of
a
those?
posted meeting, because
Us being there is posted, because us being there makes it a meeting for us.
No, I think you should post a meeting
It's
at the deliberative
posted,
session.
okay,
posted as an actual meeting, whether we meet or not.
well, us being in mass
The fact that we're there
is already designates a meeting
is
under the
not,
right to know law.
it may be, but we need to post the fact that we're having a meeting. So then, either during or after the deliberative session, if we wish, we can get together and say, what's our reaction to any changes that were made?
Yep.
And that should be done for each of the three deliberative sessions, not
Yep.
just for the town.
So I will go ahead and do that, but I want to make sure that we are agreed that we may want to, if something happens, instead of the doing, raise our hands, and I'm looking at, my committee just did this, and we're sitting as a committee, so now they think the committee is voting as a committee, and we didn't have a committee discussion. I'd like to kind of clear that kind of stuff up. The other thing is,
Well, wait a second. There are two kinds of changes that could be made. An article could be changed on the floor after we've made our report.
yes,
Because we go first.
yes,
You want then to huddle at that point and say, do we agree with this amendment and we will now support or oppose the article?
because last year at deliberative, I was the only person sitting in with the Finance Committee that did not raise my hand for the proposed change in the budget. And I'm not screaming at anybody, but when we're sitting all together and we do one of those, I have heard comments of, so the Finance Committee went with it except for one person. And I think if we're going to be in mass,
We do that already,
Already.
with our recommendations.
right, but when this, if we have a change like we did last year at deliberative session,
We can't see how we vote. If they're really gonna vote the way we're gonna vote, can't they just watch us? Do a count?
my first year with the Finance Committee, we went into a huddle at we did, over one of the things. It was my first year, so I found it very fascinating that we did that, but we did.
I don't know, I don't remember.
And I just think that if there's going to be something that we look at and say, oh, they're changing this, we like this better, if that's our choice, I want to make sure we have the ability to do that. Will we do it necessarily? Maybe not, but I want to make sure we're covered should we choose to do that.
Isn't it the case that at the meeting, changes could be made?
Yes.
But we will get together after those meetings, probably on the 12th, on Monday, or the 15th, or the 14th on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and we will react to whatever was done. Are you suggesting that we should meet at the meeting if an article is proposed, a change is proposed, and at that point say we support the change? Is that what you want us to do?
If enough of us feel strongly about it, I think it would be smart.
I think there are two separate actions. I mean, you make the recommendation
Yes.
before, and then somebody comes up and changes it. Proposes to change it.
And the changes pass.
Now, it benefits, it may or may not benefit the people who are there, the small number of people who are there, but they may want to know what our first pass is. What's the Finance Committee think of this last change, this change that's on the floor now? Not the people who are going to vote in March, but the people that are there to decide what's going to get put into the article, if there's going to be a change to it. They may want to know what that huddle up change recommendation is. We can do that. We may elect not to do that. I don't know, but that's one option. But I think we definitely then have to meet one more time after the 3 deliberative sessions to throw everything together and say, okay, now, what changes were made, if not, and then what's the old tax impact and all that we put into our finals. And Matt will be back there to do that, right?
He better be, or we're catching him at the
No,
airport.
It's two separate.
Well, we've always done
The huddle up thing would only be a benefit to those who were there to vote on the change to the article.
And if the,
So, I'm just trying to understand this, the selectmen changed their budget to knock off $1 million, okay? And Tom makes the motion, and there's discussion, and then there's going to be a vote on that. You want us to weigh in as a full committee on whether we support that amendment?
Well, that would mean,
We always did.
our first recommendation that we make before any recommended changes, because when they ask us, okay, here's the article, what's the finance committee say? That may no longer be applicable if there's a considerable change to the warrant.
But we are right there voting.
yeah, but if we're
Yes,
voting,
we
then
are,
we're voting as people,
We
not
may be
the
able to
finance
influence
committee.
the other 40 or 50 people that,
Do you really think it's appropriate for us at the meeting to say, oh, we support the amendment? I mean, that gets us so much into the political process. Don't we want to wait until the deliberative session is over?
No,
Yes.
because, I mean, I'm looking at this, if there is a huge change, what we've already voted on no longer holds because the change has been voted in place, so now we have a change. We no longer voted on this change because we were dealing with something over here, that's now gone. So here marches in this change that is now on the floor, it's been approved, now everybody's voting yea or nay on it. The Finance Committee never weighed in on the change because it wasn't there to begin with.
But why should we weigh in on that change at that time?
Because
Ultimately, we have to.
it's still a money warrant article, it's still us saying whether or not we like the article, because we would have just had voted on the one that just got amended, that's why this one's gone and this one's here, correct? So far you get where I'm at?
No,
no.
you lost me.
Okay,
The
You
motion
said you
is
mentioned
to cut the
finance.
budget. Tom Clough moves to cut the budget by $1 million.
and that passes.
And that passes. Now the question is, well, no, there's no vote technically.
They haven't taken a vote yet. I'm saying they haven't taken a vote yet.
Right,
Somebody
She's
look-
not, she's saying it passed.
No, once it passes, right, we don't care.
right.
We don't care, we do that
But,
2 weeks later.
You know, you go ahead and you say, I want to amend such and such, and they go yada, yada, yada.
I don't think that fits in with their meeting, because by the time you get to the point when they call the question, what do you do, say, okay, now give us 10 minutes?
10 minutes, how long did it take us to figure this one out?
Give us 2 hours?
Guys, remember, the only thing that the deliberative session does is to change the warrant article or not. So, once the amendment is made, I move to cut the budget by $1 million. At that point, we take no action, there's discussion. We don't chime in yea or nay on the proposal. The vote is taken. It passes, or it doesn't pass. The article at that point goes ahead without further vote by the group. So I'm not sure why, because if we don't make an amendment, there's no vote on whether to take the article. The law says that becomes part of the warrant.
She wants my recommendation before the vote now.
No,
That's what she suggested.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's.
I don't think the
that's
board's gonna
all.
give us the time at the meeting
I agree.
to meet while everybody
How
else
much did we
waits.
go down last year with Key, with 100,000?
106,000.
What do you mean?
That was close.
How did what go down with Keith?
He moved it, and somebody seconded it.
Right.
And
It was a secret vote, I think, if I'm not right.
It was a by ballot, and it was pretty close, if I remember right.
No,
No, was it?
no, it wasn't, it was public,
We didn't.
because the entire committee,
Anyway,
except for
passed.
me, raised their hand.
I think our role is to make a presentation at the.
Well, either
deliberative
way,
session.
I still have to have these posted, because if
So
we
post
get
them.
together after the meeting, it has to be posted as a meeting for
Okay.
us.
So that brings up another question. I will not be at the two school deliberative sessions. Are you still gonna have a quorum? I won't be, I don't know if
We
anybody.
will if this group shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the question, is everybody else other than me gonna show up?
yes.
If not, meeting.
Not necessarily.
Nah.
The first one I won't be at.
The Weare Middle School?
Right.
How you, Mom?
The second one, I will be in the building.
Chances are nothing's gonna happen
I'm
anyway.
going to be right around the corner, sitting on the corner of the bleachers in the gym.
The school ones are pretty boring.
I will be at the town one.
I will be at the town one, most likely will be out of commission for 2 weeks following that, starting Monday.
But we need you there right afterwards to do this again.
I'll be there on Saturday, Monday morning for surgery.
What time?
To be determined. It depends on when they call me on Friday.
We'll do the final blurb, so if there's no changes, it's just a matter of.
Right.
Because
We
in
can
a final-
pick those
total
out
overall
Saturday
tax
after the,
impact.
But we've all gotta be
We
there.
got,
yeah,
well,
for the town one,
we
we
got,
are
we
gonna
got
be
a
there.
forum.
Right, oh, I mean, if.
Matt
Oh, Matt will be back.
will be back on February 8th, that's the last we heard.
That's what he claimed.
But that would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You gotta have 5. You gotta have 5.
Yeah, I think he's getting a Euro pass.
Huh?
I think Matt's gonna get a Euro pass.
Can he still vote, seeing as how he's been absent for so long?
He said he was not gonna vote.
That's what I
But
thought.
he helps us with the writing.
He doesn't have-
Oh, he can write though,
He made the quorum.
Oh, yeah.
Matt can be part of the quorum.
but he's not gonna vote.
Right.
He can abstain, so he would,
Yeah.
it's
The
okay.
only thing we'd have to vote on is if something would change. A particular article.
And the only thing we all have to remember is if you're standing up to do something, to change something, you have to do it as yourself, not saying that you are on the Finance Committee, because the Finance Committee doesn't change things. We had one member clouding that issue last year, and we need to make sure we keep that clean. And generally, we all sit together. And other than that, we should be good to go.
No, we're not gonna go. We're not gonna get together again, so like,
What?
how are we gonna get together again to vote on these blurbs?
Well, I said we're good to go with the meetings.
Oh,
Now
okay.
we have to talk about when we're going to bond for this. So we need to set up another meet.
Let's do something, email.
But we've been voting today on the blurbs.
We were,
I mean, I don't care, I'm just wondering what we're doing.
Is
That's all.
everybody good for Monday night?
no, not this one.
You want me to be
Next Monday,
downstairs?
I'll be there.
Oh, there's nothing more downstairs that we need to be
Okay.
attending. Tuesday, do we have a school meeting?
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday's middle school.
Are we open for Tuesdays, William?
Tuesday is the first Tuesday of February.
Yes.
Rumor has it.
It's all
Yeah,
down
I
to
have
six.
You have a meeting too.
I don't have a meeting that's being canceled.
Oh, so I don't have to make my calls?
You have to make your calls because we are going to cancel the meeting. Between Goffstown and Weare, there are 6 people that are wrestling with deliberative sessions or for their various,
So I don't make calls?
you do to tell them that there's no meeting.
Got it, okay.
Do you go to the blurbs, no?
And when you make calls, make sure you remind your people that are supposed to have speakers, that they get that part figured out and tell us because
Okay.
we don't know what's coming up.
So Bill's gonna meet to get together.
Why was the meeting?
Why do you want a meeting?
Just
We'll
because,
just circulate
the
the blurbs.
blurbs you can circulate, we voted. The blurbs you can circulate and get the language the way you want it.
So how's that gonna work? He sends out blurbs, I send back some suggestions.
No, you then form up and say, look like yours.
Yeah, I do that, but let's assume that Lori or John or somebody has a suggested change. How does that become,
It becomes
Approved or
reply to
rejected.
all on the email, but hopefully
I don't think we
nobody's.
can do that legally.
that's a meeting.
That's a
Yeah, it's a
meeting.
meeting.
You can't make a decision like that.
You can't hold conversations via email because that's now a right to know request. Anybody can 91A our emails at that point.
So, are 5 of us available for Tuesday night?
So, you got it?
We're waiting on Bill on
I
that.
don't think there's something I
John's not available. Sunday's out, it's Super Bowl Sunday, don't talk to me.
John is out, but there's still 5 of us who are not.
Bill is not.
Bill's
out.
gotta check his referee and
At
schedule.
7. And high school is,
Are we meeting the 8th planning board?
We're meet the second Tuesday.
So yes, next Thursday's out for us.
The second Thursday, I mean.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Then you and I are out for Thursday,
Why is that?
because that's the second Tuesday. Or second Thursday, excuse me.
But there's no deliberative session that day, is it?
No, we're talking, you and I are planning board that day.
Yes.
Yeah, so we won't be able to meet here.
Hang on. I might be
That's
there
true.
The 8th wouldn't work anyway, because the 7th is the first deliberative session. It's gotta be Monday, Tuesday.
Tuesday, I think.
I'm not available either of those days.
I'm okay on Tuesday.
Where are we on Saturday?
No, I like the
No,
idea.
Saturday, Tuesday, I might, I'm trying to figure out my system.
Why not meet at Lori's on Sunday?
Because I'm in
Don't mess with
Connecticut.
the football game.
I'm in Connecticut on Saturday till, I gotta watch my other granddaughter play basketball, so Monday night.
Sunday afternoon is fine, I don't care.
But Tuesday, I think, I got a referee at 4:30, and I don't think I have a game, I don't think our has a game in front.
Saturday.
Just give me a second.
For the town.
What?
When you said Saturday?
No, this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that's,
This Saturday works for me.
This,
Okay, I'm in Connecticut, that's okay.
Oh, weekend in Connecticut?
Yes, I'm going down Saturday morning, I'm coming back late Monday night, the game.
Saturday.
We're watching one grandson play Saturday, Sunday, and the granddaughter play Monday night. I won't be back till midnight, Monday night. Want me at midnight, Monday night?
Tuesday night,
How about Friday?
Bill.
Tuesday, if I stop talking, I check this.
When do you leave on Friday? What time?
I'm not leaving Friday.
Well, good, then we can meet Friday.
How about Friday?
No,
it's too
Why
late.
not?
I got, because my other granddaughter plays Friday night,
What time?
6:30.
Good, 9 o'clock is a great time to.
No, I'm in Goffstown, it's in Goffstown, the game's in Goffstown.
So 9 o'clock, she should be done.
She will be.
Good, then we'll meet.
Or 5 o'clock?
You want to meet 9 o'clock, Friday night?
How about 5 o'clock?
Oh, stop it.
I'm serious. Shouldn't take as long to go over it, should it?
I can't do two things at the same time.
All right, think. You're looking at Tuesday night.
Okay, now I can get to where I want to get to, finally.
Tuesday's after Friday.
Only night I'm available is Monday.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I want.
Now, did you actually run one of these ships in the coast?
It was an old ship. I was captain of an old cutter that was
You know all those
commissioned
crashes where they had
in
ships in each other and sink?
1946, 2 years
Yeah.
before I was born. And it didn't have these things. You know when they show the Titanic movie and the guy's up there saying the iceberg's ahead, he rings up the bell like this and they gotta answer it down below? That's what I am.
Maybe we should go back to that.
Okay? You got that in there? Okay.
And they live again, Russell.
I am available Tuesday night.
All right. Are we on for Tuesday? I know John can't make it. Everybody else is on deck for Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 6th of February.
Yes.
Tuesday at 7?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this room available?
Always.
Always. If not, we can meet in the hallway.
Well, we've never had a problem, yes, sir.
Thank you.
And you're gonna post it.
Oh, yeah. Big M posting. And at that meeting, we will also, Bill, please make a note that we will approve the minutes of this meeting. Got it?
Yep.
Ship won't sink?
Well, we're taking on a little water.
Start to understand the accidents happening.
Helps you keep it up.
Any other business that we need to discuss or feel is important because nobody wants to go home?
Is there any rumors of any major cuts amongst, any scuttlebutt amongst the townspeople of any major cuts happening?
I've heard a couple, whether they come through or not, I don't know. I've heard a couple suggestions on different warrant articles. We'll see if they come through.
Just trying to think if we're gonna be surprised or not.
Well, you know,
Or if all this is for naught, I should say.
wouldn't be surprised if there are cuts. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was an attempt to adjust at least one warrant article. Whether they actually pass or not, I have no idea. I just sit there and say, okay, we'll see. I mean, what you say and what actually shows up at that meeting are almost two different things. So I figure I'll just bring popcorn and soda and see how it flies.
And are we going to be making any recommendations at the town deliberative session?
Yes,
We are.
these.
Usually these things get read.
I stand
No,
up.
let me change the question.
Yeah.
Are we going to make any recommendations on any amendments?
Well, I think I just raised
No.
that question about
Okay.
doing that and they shot that in the
Okay.
foot.
If, for whatever reason we do, we need to make, my personal preference is not as we don't have a committee, yes or no, it would be worded the same way. That's my opinion, if we go that route. So 7-4-0 against, or whatever, just for clarity purposes. We're doing it this way for our recommendations.
If they change something, we're not going to be doing any of that because this group just said that we're not going to discuss it to do that. Correct?
After the meeting, when we meet again,
Right.
then we have a couple of days to digest
Right.
how the warrant article was changed, and then we would go,
But at the meeting per se, we will not do that if
No.
something's
no,
amended.
we're not gonna do it.
Okay.
Now, if you so choose and the fit takes you that you want to stand up as,
As a private citizen and not a member of the Finance Committee.
yes, you are more than welcome to do that. That's not a problem at all. Just don't say you belong to the Finance.
Lori, while you're here, you might pick a date the following week, because I have to have all the stuff to the printer on Friday the 16th.
Okay, so
Okay, but-
Bill, open up your calendar.
Just so you don't walk away Saturday the 10th and then have to be rushed, you'll know ahead of time.
That's a good point.
Can we just do the Wednesday, like we've always done? 14?
Well, I think you're out of commission.
You taking me out for Valentine's Day or what?
Are you?
No, I got it.
That a big thing?
No, it's not. Because my assigner gave me a game that night, but it's probably early enough where I can get here.
This is my last
But
meeting.
Okay.
Tuesday's the 6th.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
that's the first meeting. Now you're talking the Wednesday.
Following week, the week of the 12th.
I cannot make Wednesday the following week.
Okay, what days can you make the following week?
How about Tuesday?
No.
13th?
Bill says no.
Oh, Bill's getting fast over here.
How about Monday?
Well, he can only move so fast, so wait.
He's on a roll now.
No, I got me. I'm open.
He's figured it out.
Okay. What days are you open, William?
I am open Monday.
Okay, 12th. Everybody got Monday?
I'm just checking. I do have a game, but it's earlier, and I can make it Monday.
Monday's good?
Monday the
To me,
12th.
the 12th.
Perfect.
Everybody's here, you have one.
And now, if John is on the operating table but alert, he could participate by phone.
Video.
I will be under narcotics
Well,
and intubated. I will not be.
Narcotic?
Narcotics and intubation. I will not be in a position to speak.
Okay.
How about divine guidance?
This will be my last meeting, it sounds like.
And hasn't it been fun? Anything else? New business, old business? All in favor of saying good night?
I go, motion we adjourn.
second.
Let's go home.
Good night, David.